Welcome to the Hideaway Sessions, recorded and filmed at Factory Underground Studios in Norwalk, Connecticut. And today we have recording artist Eliot Lewis, who has an incredible history in the music business. And we're going to learn about some of your great stories and some of the great artists you played with. But you have a current single out called Well-Traveled Heart. And you're currently on tour. And let's hear a little bit about what's going on today.
Yeah, it's been an incredible journey. You know, I am a bona fide full-time solo artist now after 20 years with Daryl Hall and John Oates, and I'm loving it, man. I'm touring all over the country doing this show, which is kind of unique. It's a completely live looping show, very spontaneous. Playing a lot of my own songs and, songs from all the incredible artists that I've been fortunate to work with. So, it's been a blast.
So tell us about the show. I've heard about this one-man show. You started as a drummer? I know. Yeah. So you played keyboards with Hall & Oates. Yeah. Obviously playing guitar and many instruments during the one-man performances that you do. Yeah. Are you playing drums too live and looping all this stuff? How does it work?
Yeah, exactly. It's a little crazy, and it's always a work in progress. But I started as a drummer, so I went from drums to guitar to bass and then keys. And I really became a keyboard player out of necessity because I wanted to be a self-contained songwriter. Whereas in the first half of my career, being in a band really wasn't getting me anywhere. So I really wanted to focus on being a producer, songwriter, engineer, one of those kind of guys. And so I learned keys, never really expecting to be a performing keyboard player. But as luck would have it, I ended up joining the Average White Band. Wow. And way back in the late 80s. And, was able to utilize all of that in that band. I was playing keys, I was playing bass, I was one of the lead singers. Oh, wow. And then that really led into joining Hall & Oates because of the affiliation of Daryl with the original bass player in the Average White Band. They were both bands were signed to Atlantic Records back in the day and shared the same producer and stuff. So when that opportunity happened with Hall & Oates, it was really the keyboard position that was open. Wow. So I just by default became the keyboard player, and I was able to play a couple of other instruments along the way. So I've always been sort of a multi-instrumentalist, so to put this show together was really the right approach, to be able to, kind of convey the different instruments that I play. So, at a typical live show, I'm playing drums with either pads or maybe a couple of other acoustic instruments, and then I'm I have to condense it somewhat because I'm a one-man show and I'm doing most of this stuff myself. So I'm playing guitar, I'm creating bass parts on the guitar, I'm doing vocals, sometimes I'm using a processor to create harmonies, or I'm singing and looping the different parts. So it gets the job done, and it's a lot of fun, and it allows me to be really spontaneous in the moment. If I'm feeling something or reading something from the audience, I can kind of go with it on the spot.
That's amazing.
Whereas with a band, you may not know, everybody may not know where to go in the moment, unless you've been playing together for so many years. But I'm able to do that with this. And again, it's not perfect, but it creates the illusion of a band, a 3 or 4 piece band. And,
well, that's great. I mean, it must take so much practice to be able to do that and change that show in the moment,
Yeah,
with
does.
All the timing of everything, and that's really awesome.
What I just said is the upside to it. The downside is that you are kind of reliant on technology. And, sometimes, and I always try to preface this when I'm doing a show, a live show, is that if I step on a button a fraction of a second off, it's going to sound bad. So we go with it, and I make the best of it. If I have to stop sometimes. But, I always say at this point in my career, and I've been doing this for so long, is that the imperfections are way more interesting than the perfection. Right. I've toured with so many bands that use backing tracks for everything, and they sound like the record. It sounds great. Yeah. But there's never anything different and unique and unexpected that happens.
Well, it's still rock and roll, and rock and roll definitely isn't perfect, right?
Exactly. I don't think it should be perfect.
Right on. Well, I'd love to hear Well-Traveled Heart right now, and
man.
That's your current single out. And by the way, the artwork on the song is incredible. Who does that?
Actually, I do it all myself.
That's so awesome.
You know, again, with a little help from technology, but I love that stuff. I'm a part photographer as well, so I'm a very visually oriented person. So I really love doing all the graphic stuff, but again, it takes time and, you know.
I bet it looks like it does. It looks really great. So, all right. Well, here's the Hideaway Sessions, Well-Traveled Heart, and Eliot Lewis.
Nothing's written in stone, headed for the unknown, trying to find my way home, but it's right inside of me. Every day is a test, which direction is best? I let it flow with the rest, I can't run away. I've got a well-traveled heart, but my spirit's gonna rise and shine. Yeah, I'll keep my well-traveled heart with me to the finish line. I've got a well-traveled heart. Alright. Every day is a test, which direction is best? I let it flow with the rest, I can't run away from me. Lord knows I've got a well-traveled heart, but my spirit's gonna rise and shine. Yeah, I'll keep my well-traveled heart with me to the finish line. I've got a well-traveled heart. All right.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Different version of that.
Yeah, no, that's a great single that's out right now from Eliot Lewis. So, so you mentioned you went from, average white band to Hall & Oates playing keys, but then you also played in Daryl's house keys, right?
Yeah, so early on, I guess it was about 3 or 4 years after joining Hall & Oates, Daryl started his show, live from Daryl's house. And, was lucky enough to be there from day one, the first show, which started off very, very small, very casually, and of course grew into something much larger over the years. But on a lot of those shows, especially the early ones, I ended up playing a little bit of acoustic. I would jump around from, keys to acoustic, and later down the road, there are a couple of episodes, like we had the great Billy Gibbons of ZZ Top come on the show, and he brought along a couple of keyboard players. So, I think Shane let him know I played guitar, so he was like, well, play guitar. The more the guitar, the better.
Wow.
So, but it was mostly on keys. But I like the variety. I've always loved the variety of playing different things.
Yeah, so there's a list that someone gave me of some of the people you have performed alongside.
Yeah.
Billy Gibbons, Joe Walsh, Todd Rundgren, Train, Cheap Trick, Grace Potter, Ben Folds, Sammy Hagar.
Yeah.
That must have been cool. I mean, he's just a fun guy, right?
Anybody good in that, though?
Exactly, right? Well, I mean, is there a favorite out there? Was there a favorite? I mean, I know there's probably many favorites, but
Yeah,
was there something that really stuck out to you where it's like, wow, I'm alongside this
yeah.
great artist right now?
I'm asked that a lot in reference to the show, and it's actually almost impossible to pick one because there are a few that are sort of equal on the top. Todd Rundgren being one because I was so influenced by him as a kid. Growing up, I heard his classic record, Something Anything, with Hello, It's Me, and Saw the Light, all that stuff. And at the same time, I was listening to Stevie Wonder. And I think it was my brother that let me know that these guys are playing all the instruments themselves. And that just kind of blew my mind as a 10-year-old.
Right.
So it really, I think, shaped me to be a multi-instrumentalist. Anyway, so Todd Rundgren, I would say, is on the top of the list. Cheap Trick, because I discovered them in my teens, and I just thought they're so cool. They're just such a fun band.
Right.
They're still out there, very relevant, and
speaking of the Live at Budokan record, you have actually played Budokan, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
think,
what was that like?
I think twice, yeah. Well, I couldn't believe it. I mean, my journey has just been astonishing to me that I've ended up in so many places that I dreamt about playing. Of course, Madison Square Garden,
right,
several times, the Budokan.
Incredible.
But the Hollywood Bowl and Red Rocks and O2 Arena and Wembley.
Wow.
Carnegie Hall. I mean, it's just been incredible.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And do you have a favorite venue? Since you've done all these touring dates with Hall & Oates for 20 years, there must, and you've probably reoccurred in some of these great venues, like you just said.
Yeah, I mean, well,
Red Rocks has got to be up there. Right?
Red Rocks is incredible just because of the beauty of it. You know, it's incredible. Have you ever played there?
I have not. No.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But I would say the most impactful gig for me was definitely Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
I went there first as an 11-year-old to see Alice Cooper with my friend, whose father was in the music business, took us there, and I was 11, and I was maybe even more overwhelmed with the venue than I was seeing Alice Cooper, and I was a huge Alice Cooper fan when I was a little kid.
Right.
And so it just became a dream to play, and I honestly never thought I would play there. I came this close to playing there when I joined the Average White Band because they did their 40th year anniversary for Atlantic Records there, and the band actually wanted me to play. So I was like, oh my God, I'm going to actually play Madison Square Garden. But there was one person in the organization that said, no, it's got to be just the original band. And so I was there with them on the side of the stage and saw Led Zeppelin reform for that, Aretha Franklin.
Wow.
But then it was many, many years later. I think it was 2016 that I first played there with Hall & Oates, and then subsequently 2 more times after that. So,
wow.
I literally, the first time I played there, I looked up at where I remember being as an 11-year-old, and just literally just my mind being blown, just like, wow, somehow after all these years, I'm now on the stage.
Right.
And I didn't think it was possible.
Yeah.
But now, like my record title, anything is possible.
Yeah, exactly.
If it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody.
You have another great record out called Adventure. Would you want to play one of the songs off that record?
Yeah, I love playing Adventure. Yeah, let's see if I can put this together. Do a minimal live looping version of it.
Right. Eliot Lewis, this is Adventure.
Like to have a little rhythm going,
Yeah.
I always try to be somebody who didn't need somebody else, but I found it's alright just to be yourself. You never know what this life may bring. You're too busy looking looking for something, looking for something that really doesn't matter. Well, it might be good, it might be bad, it might be happy, it might be sad, but I know it's gonna be an adventure. Well, it might be high, it might be low, it might go fast, it might go slow, but I know it's gonna be an adventure. Gonna be an adventure. It's just so unpredictable, so I gonna fill my time with all the things that keep me in touch with all the things that truly matter. 'Cause it might be good, it might be bad, it might be happy, it might be sad, but I know it's gonna be an adventure. Well, it might be high, it might be low, it might go fast, it might go slow, but I know it's gonna be an adventure. Sad, but I know gonna be an adventure. Well, it might be high, it might be low, it might go fast, it might go slow, but I know it's gonna be an adventure. Well, it might be me, it might be you, it might be a lie, it might be true, but I know it's gonna be an adventure. Well, it might be me, it might be you, it might be a lie, it might be true, but I know it's gonna be an adventure. Well, yeah. Ooh. Gonna be an adventure.
That was great. Oh my gosh.
Thanks, man.
So you're going out to the Midwest. The Midwest is where I feel rock and roll still lives.
Oh, it does.
And,
indeed, yeah.
And
yeah.
the music business has changed so much. I mean, and so you've been able to see this from the early 80s on, right? Mm-hmm. And we're still doing tape in the 80s, and then we moved into ADAT world and mm-hmm. Gradually moved up into Pro Tools and mm-hmm. Digital recording and multi-track, madness as we all say here. But tell us a little bit about just being able to be a part of the history of the recording business changing so much.
Oh, wow. I mean, yeah.
You record all your own stuff, too.
I do, yeah. I'm pretty, pretty self-contained. And not that I don't love collaborating. I did a ton of collaborating. When I was, a songwriter for Warner Brothers and CBS and Sony, I did so much collaborating. But I just find I'm able to do things quickly, and if I get, an idea, I'm able to just move ahead so quickly, recording stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's changed. Everything has changed so much. The record business, the music business has changed, but how we record is very different. And I think it's good in a way. I mean, I've always tried to just embrace the technology. I'm definitely a bit of a gearhead and like to explore everything, all the tools that are available to me. So in that regard, I think, having, Logic and Pro Tools and all the stuff that we generally use gives us so many options,
Right.
which can be dangerous. Sometimes having less options lets us move more quickly because if there's only 4 choices, it's, maybe sometimes better than 40 choices.
Right.
But if you know what you're going for and you're willing to spend the time learning the stuff, then I think it opens up a lot of creative avenues.
Yeah, could you have ever imagined that
Yeah.
from the time of the 80s playing with Average White Band that you would
Yeah.
be doing your own solo career with all this technology behind you, which is amazing that you can operate all that and have this. I've been able to see the show, and it's awesome. And, but being from that era and now in this era, it's got to be pretty.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've gone through every recording medium you can imagine, from, multi-track cassettes to ADATs to mini disc players.
Right.
I think I recorded my first solo record on a multi-track mini disc that I think I got in Japan when I was over there the first time.
Wow.
So I've seen it all, and and surprisingly, some of that early stuff sounds pretty good. I think some of the grit and the lower fidelity stuff can actually sound cool.
Right.
And certainly vinyl is still, one of the best sounding things.
And so you're writing all these songs. Is this all being done in your own home studio?
Yeah.
Or? Right.
Yeah, I have a home studio. I've almost always had a home studio, someplace to work out of. I was one of those guys, the early adopters of doing that stuff. So, I love it. It's second nature to me. It's just almost part of the extension of the writing process. Like I can write something on my couch sometimes, go into my studio and start putting it down in some way, in some form,
That's great. Wow.
And, I love it.
Well, great. Well, let's hear another tune. You got singles coming out right now. Do you have another single coming out this year? You got a full record? Or?
I think we're gonna put out the rest of the record.
Okay.
Because we put out 2 singles, and
Great.
the first one was a cover of "My Love Is Alive" by the great Gary Wright.
Oh, right.
And then we followed it
love
up with
that version, by the
such
way.
a great song.
It's on our WFUT station in rotation right now.
Really?
Every time it comes on.
It's such a great song.
It is such a great song, and
Yeah.
you do such a great job at representing that song. So, yeah.
It's so funky. It's like right
It
in my
is.
sweet spot. It's funk, but it's got a little rock and a great melody.
It must go over well live.
It does. Yeah, it's cool.
Great.
But I'd like to do this song. This is another song off the new record. It's a little motto I like to live by because I think it's really true. It's called, it's what we make it, which is just meaning, I think this life, we get out of it what we put in, and
True that. I'm a subscriber to that. So. All right.
Okay, let's try this.
Another trip around this time and place. Another day came too soon. I'm waking up to my familiar face. It isn't looking too smooth. As history begins to turn its page, it's gonna move on so fast. And as the night falls upon this stage, I fight to make it last. It's what we make it. This life is what we make it. Yeah, what we make it. This life is what we make it. Yeah. Yeah. The possibilities in endless dreams and be ashamed to let them go. I'm holding on to all the things we've seen. So welcome to Live Show. It's what we make it. This life is what we make it. It's what we make it. This life is what we make it.
Eliot Lewis, everybody. Thank you so much for coming down to Factory Underground and
my pleasure,
hanging
man.
out with us at the Hideaway Sessions. And good luck with the tour coming up. And this was really, really special for everybody here to have you down here. Thank you so much.
I always love coming here and seeing you guys, man.
Yeah, let's do this again.
We will, for
All
sure.
Right. Eliot Lewis, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
It's what we make it. This life is what we